Okay, hello everybody. So this is the recording for your week 12 anatomy and physiology. Okay, this is all to do with level 3 beauty, and we're going into tissues. So the anatomy and physiology, and again, just reminding you the way I teach it, we've done cells, we're now doing tissues, then we're going into organ systems and bones. You want to keep the link between everything that you've done so far. So up until now, again, just recapping quickly, we've done all the full body treatments, we've done massage and everything. And now, because you've done that physical part of the units and you've done your assessments based around that, you are now able to understand the anatomy and physiology more. Okay, so today we're going into tissues. All right, so let's give you a skip, and I've actually got a light on today so you can see me. All right. So the first thing is first, from cells to body, I've got my workbook here that you've already had. We've got cells, tissue, organs, systems, and then we've got the skin system. They're all called different words, different names, and everything else. Okay, and then we've got the organisms. So this is what we're doing this week. This is what we're doing next week. Excuse me, I have had a horrendous cold. So we want to define tissue in simple anatomy and physiology language, identify the four main issue types, that's these diagrams here, explain one function of each tissue type, and we want to link that knowledge to understanding why we need to know it as beauty therapists. Okay? A tissue is a group of similar specialized cells working together to perform a shared function. So once we've created the cell, it's then going to start to create the tissue. If you're watching this through YouTube for your own revision purposes, then there are links to other videos in the content underneath. I'm not with it at all today, I apologise. List of other videos in the content below that you can link on that I find really helpful. I have learning difficulties and I learn better through cartoons, fun videos, and singing. It just really helps me, and it helps me remember certain words that are linked to functions. So when it comes to cells and tissue, the absolute beginning of life, this is what will help you further. Okay? So we have these specialized cells, they then work as a team, and then we have the function. All right? So our four main tissue types: epithelial, connective, muscular or muscle, and nervous. They all play a lot of parts within the functions of how the tissue develops and what that does in what we feel, how they react to every single day life. Okay? So, epithelial tissue, surface and barrier. It covers the body's surface, lines cavities and glands, protects, absorbs and secretes. There's some key words there for any exams. And the beauty link to this is the skin barrier. We exfoliate it and then we apply the product application towards the end to produce that barrier. Now remember, if you're doing a facial or you're doing a massage, the skin is very sensitive. So that's why we link it to that. Okay, the tissue has been manipulated through the muscles. The skin has been manipulated in a facial through the massages. And when we exfoliate all of that, we're getting rid of all dead skin cells. We're renewing the cells in the way they're building, and the tissue is renewing on the skin surface. So this is how you can sort of link it all to that. The contractions and contraindications are open wounds, infections, inflammation, hypersensitivity, and recent aggressive exfoliation. You'll find if we exfoliate too much, the pH levels in the skin change. It becomes too sensitive. The products that worked before don't work now, etc., etc. And that is the same as the body than it is for the face. All right? So connective tissue, it supports and repairs. Remember that. It supports and repairs. Connects, supports and protects structures, includes bone, blood, adipose tissue, cartilage, tendons and ligaments. Dermis, that's a layer of the skin, contains connective tissue fibers, and the beauty link to that is your contractions and your contraindications, bruising, inflammation, repair and pressure choice. If we have a contraindication, we are not going to continue with the treatment. If we have a contraction, that's something that's happened during or after the treatment. We can have a massage and it can be really heavy, that it has produced some kind of bruising or some kind of redness that lasts more than 24 hours. The cupping massages do the same. If it doesn't go down after 48 hours, then we advise our clients to go and see a GP. It could be down to simplicity like dehydration. It could be down to hypersensitivity. But all these things you would look at when you're going through that consultation process. And this is the main reason why it's so important. We're linking it to the contraction and the contraindications that could occur, that have already been existing problems or issues when we take that consultation process. So pressure affects soft tissue through your massage. Pain, swelling, bruising are all signs to slow down and think safely. Your key words here is collagen, elastin, the matrix, repair and inflammation. They're your key words, so I'd make note of those. So the muscle and nervous tissue. Muscle tissue connects to create movement, posture and heat. Massage works over skeletal muscle. The nervous tissue sends impulses, skin receptors, detects touch, pressure, temperature and pain. Client care link, your pressure should respond to feedback, pain and sensation. And your professional link, never force through pain. Adapt, pause and record or refer. Okay, so if your client is wincing at the fact that they're in pain, but they haven't told you this on the consultation, or you haven't detected it and you've only detected it now because it might be the first time you're working with them and they're like, oh yeah, I'm fine, I'm fit and well. But you might feel a lump. They might have torn a tendon and they haven't realised, but they're complaining about a pain in their shoulder. All these things we start to feel when we get into the massage. So you need to be vigilant still. And you make a note in every single thing that you've seen, felt and heard on that consultation form. It will also go into a modification. You need to avoid the area. So when it comes to this particular scenario, I want you to have a look at it. A client has tender bruising on the thigh from bumping into a table. They ask for a firm massage over the area. So number one, just have a think about what tissue is involved with this. So you've got to think that they've bumped into the table, and when we do that, a bruise might appear, some more than others. Okay, again, there's other things that go into that. It could be medication, lack of iron, a bad diet, lack of hydration. So everybody would react to that bump on the leg more than others. So if that is the case, whenever we brush past something or we put our hand over it, we can feel that sensation of the bruise. So what tissue has the damage? So just have a think about that for the moment. Okay. Now, if you got it right, it would be the nervous tissue, the tissue that makes up part of the nerve, well, the nervous system makes up part of that tissue because it's a sensation they can be feeling. It could be a feeling of like pins and needles. It could be a severe bruise that it doesn't go away very quickly and the pain stays there for a few days. It can be discomforting. It's tenderness and nerve pain. So we have to avoid direct pressure over bruised, painful and inflamed tissue. We don't go in harder. We don't add more pressure. Personally, I'd avoid the area altogether. Once the bruising has gone down, once the marks have started to disappear, then we can talk about some stretching if you have your personal training qualification. We can go into nutrition if you've got the nutritional qualification. And as for beauty therapy, we are still going to feel around the area, speaking to the client, asking them how they feel, adding the pressure as we go along. Okay? Record anything that the client feels discomfort, but do not add more pressure to that area. So I'd like you to fill in the gaps here. So tissue equals groups of similar what working together. Name one epithelial tissue location. Give two examples of connective tissue. What does muscle tissue do? What does nervous tissue send? We've just spoke about that in the bruising scenario. Now here you've got an exit ticket. I'd like you to write one paragraph. How does understanding tissues help a beauty therapist work safely? Think about everything that we've just said in regards to your contractions, your contraindications, and what and how that looks like when we're giving these treatments. Okay? So, next week's lesson is all about bones. If you've done, let's go back to that slide. It won't let me. If you have answered those questions, well done. But I'd like you to answer them for yourself. So I'm not going to put them in the comments below, but I will link more videos in regards to tissue and how cells and tissue work together as a family, as a team, to create our body's systems and organs. Okay? Answer those questions, use them as research tasks for your own self, and that also builds momentum for revision. Also gives you some kind of knowledge as you work forward on your course. So next week I'll be back because it'll all be about bones. All right? See you on the other side.